County Board of Commissioners meeting, and I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Commissioner Cavell.
Here.
Commissioner Gershenson. Commissioner Gingell. Commissioner Hoffman.
Present.
Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Joliet.
Here.
Commissioner Long.
Here.
Commissioner Lubes.
Here.
Commissioner Markham.
Here.
Commissioner McGillivray.
Here.
Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Commissioner Nelson. Commissioner Powell. Commissioner Rahman.
Present.
Commissioner Smith Charles. Commissioner Spiz.
Present.
Commissioner Weipert.
Here.
Commissioner Woodward.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. And we have excused absences for Commissioners Gershenson, Smith Charles, and Nelson, who notified us of their inavailability this evening. The invocation this evening will be led by the Honorable Janet Jackson. And then we will immediately follow the invocation with the Pledge of Allegiance. So without any further ado, Commissioner Jackson.
Scripture. I want to just read the 23rd Psalm, but I have a little story about it. When I was a little girl coming up, my grandmother made us all memorize the 23rd Psalm. She said it would always comfort us when we were having issues and just discomfort in our lives. So remember the 23rd Psalm, and then I would try to get up in her bed, which was probably about this high off the ground. So if you remember those old beds, right? So here we go. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Next, we will look for a motion to approve the minutes from our February 16th meeting. Moved by Commissioner Joliet, seconded by Commissioner McGillivray. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Let the record reflect that the minutes have been approved unanimously. And this will move us to an approval of the agenda. Moved by Commissioner McGillivray, seconded by Commissioner Long. Any discussion on the agenda? Seeing none. All in favor of approval of the agenda as presented, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Let the record reflect that the agenda has been approved unanimously. We'll move us now to communications. We got a couple proclamations and a presentation and some other communications. So I will call on Commissioner Hoffman to present the first proclamation.
We're presenting this proclamation tonight to my new best friend, Jack Parr. I responded to an ad on Facebook Marketplace to buy truck wheels, aluminum wheels. So I ended up going to Jack Parr's house, and I saw a semi parked there, and I said, Jack, whose semi is that? And he says, it's his. I said, do you still drive it? And he said, yeah. I said, how old are you? He said, 89. He's driven over 12 million miles.
Wow.
Pardon? Oh, accident-free. That's the most important part. So before we read the proclamation, I want to put 12 million miles into perspective so we have a better idea what that really means. You could go to the moon and back 25 times, 12 million miles. You could go to Mackinac Island and back 24,000 times. You could go to Chairman Woodward's district, 222,222 times round trip. Okay. Jack, would you like to come up here, please, with your family? Come over here. You got to face the crowd.
Yeah.
You don't get to give the Gettysburg Address yet. We're going to read the proclamation first.
Yeah. I got to see what they said about me.
It's all good. He wants to see what we wrote about him, but he proved it. Anyway, whereas it is important to honor storied careers of small business owners such as Jack Parr, who drive to make Oakland County a prosperous and connected community. Mr. Parr was born in Greenway, Arkansas in August 1933. He moved to Pontiac, Michigan at 12 years old. After a tragic corn picking accident, Mr. Parr lost his right hand in 1952, 1 year after graduating from high school. The doctors at the University of Michigan were able to create a prosthetic thumb for Mr. Parr, which allowed him to leave farming to become a commercial vehicle operator. Mr. Parr began his career as a limo driver in 1972, was an active member of the UAW Teamsters working alongside Jimmy Hoffa. He later accepted a position at Fleet Carrier Corporation in Pontiac, where he found his passion for trucking. In 1982, he purchased his first commercial truck for $72,000 and founded Jack Parr Trucking Industries in Clarkston, Michigan. From there, Mr. Parr was able to expand his business, buildings a fleet of 10 semi-trucks and 7 converted commercial pickup trucks.
Whereas in his lifetime, Mr. Parr has traveled from coast to coast, logging an estimated 12 million miles in total, whereas he has delivered aircraft equipment to Seattle, refrigerated fish from New York. Parr handles each truckload with great care. At age 89, he has no plans to retire in the near future. And on this special occasion, we join with Mr. Parr's family, including his wife, Betty, 5 children, and 10 grandchildren, to congratulate Jack Parr on his hand and work commitment to the trucking industry. Therefore, let it be resolved, Dave Woodward, Chair of the Oakland County Board of Commissioners, and Commissioner Bob Hoffman, and myself, Commissioner Karen Joliet, as you are in my district.
Okay,
so thank you for including me. Do hereby honor Jack Parr's outstanding legacy. We wish him the best in future endeavors.
I'm not much of giving a speech unless I'm driving a truck on a CB radio. Anyway, I was graduating from high school, and I was in the rotunda then. In them days, this rotunda, the Board of Commissioners done everything. They gave me a farm deferment so I wouldn't have to be drafted. And then I was in the rotunda one other time, and about 1962 to get a concealed weapon permit. In them days, everything had to be done through here. So I started driving a truck. First, I tried being a farmer, but I got allergic. I lost it, and then I lost 2 fingers here. And so I decided, whatever left, I might better drive a truck. So I didn't have no commercial license or nothing, and didn't have no union card. So I went to Jimmy Hoffa's warehouse over there where the state building is now, over there off of 24. And they hired me. But I only done that for 2 weeks. So then I had my CDL then, and I had it wasn't CDL then, it was commercial. Then I had a union card. So then I went to freight carrier. I couldn't hack that limousine driving. So they had you do things that normal people wouldn't do. So I decided I didn't want to do that. Now my first trip for him, they sent me to Metro Airport to pick up a suitcase, put it in the trunk, bring it back to them. So I decided I didn't want to do this. So I had real good luck at freight carrier. They was good to me, and I think they was proud of me that I done things that no other driver ever done for them. I spent 27 days hauling that General George around to make the movie and in the whole country. My first stop was in Arizona. Second drop was Oklahoma City. I had 7 different locations. It ended up in Atlanta, Georgia. So they flew me home every weekend, don't count the family. And that's the only time I've ever been away from home that much. But I've done a lot of things in my life driving a truck, and I've seen some things that I didn't want to see. I've seen some things that was good. It had changed a lot in the last few years, you know, but the world had changed. So we got no control over that. It's up to you guys to do that. That's not my place. So I appreciate you getting the award, and I want to thank my wife and my kid through my whole life. Well, that's about all I got to say.
I just want to tell you how optimistic Jack is. He just got his CDL renewed for 2 more years, and he's still driving.
First
you
time
say
it's
that-
ever been done.
So it's the first time that it's ever been done, that you, to have that renewed at your age?
When I got to go back to renew it, I'll be 90. And I'm going to get it renewed. But I just got a shoulder replacement 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, forgot to mention that. Hey, Jack, come up here.
Yeah.
Everybody crowd in up here.
Okay.
There's only anemia, right? Bro, it's just anemia. It's okay. No.
Now, he's not allowed to tease Marcia with it, right?
Congratulations, Jack. I am going to hand the gavel over to our finance chair to preside because I'm presenting the next proclamation.
Okay, Mr. Chair, next up we have a proclamation for Dr. Lisa Z. Winters, Royal Oak Multicultural Parents Association.
Great, thank you.
You have the floor.
Dr. Lisa Z. Winters, can you join me up here? I'm incredibly honored to present this presentation, but this really is a community recognition of a woman who has done tremendous work in our community. Truth be told, all through COVID and everything, Dr. Z. Winters' voice was very common in my house. My wife very involved with the work that she's doing and all the meetings they were doing to respond to a need that needed attention. And if it wasn't for Dr. Z. Winters' leadership to help pull together a community, the progress that's been made wouldn't be possible. I mean, a little way of background, the Royal Oak Multicultural Parents Association got founded out of a need of, students of color, biracial students, and I mean, there were national stories about things happening in our school district, and no one wants to be, the headline story that brings discomfort or disappointment to national phenomenons that were playing out. Parents came together, concerned for their children as a product of the school district. I was incredibly proud of parents that came together to take a strategic and focused approach to make certain that the needs to protect, children that were, I guess if you put in a category, the minority, but more importantly to address systematic issues, disproportionate disciplinary issues, words that are being said and not checked, and and bringing attention to issues and informing parents when these things happen. There were a tremendous amount of difficult conversations, and it took someone with the courage, the calmness, the vision to hold, in some cases, very frustrated parents who would do anything to protect their child. And that's what we have in this incredible leader, and I'm so proud. So there's actually two proclamations. I want to recognize Dr. Lisa Z. Winters' leadership in all of this, but also ROMPA, the Royal Oak Multicultural Parents Association, which I believe is a model of how do we address these difficult, how do we have these difficult conversations and work collaboratively to create a community, to create schools that create an opportunity for all children to learn. And so, with that, I'm going to present this proclamation, and we'll call on Commissioner Cavell and Commissioner Lubes, who also represent Royal Oak, and Commissioner Smith-Charles, who's not able to be here because Dr. Lisa Z. Winters is a resident of Oak Park, want to present this proclamation to you and your leadership. Whereas extraordinary individuals who reach the highest levels of education and use their knowledge and experience to advocate for others and enrich Oakland County. And whereas Dr. Lisa Z. Winters of Oak Park is one of these such individuals. She's an associate professor of African American Studies and English at Wayne State University, based on her deep knowledge of the university's undergraduate program, also an alum that I am. African American and a PhD of African Diaspora Studies from, I'm sorry, I skipped over this, sorry. Based on her deep knowledge of the university's undergraduate program and specialized expertise, she was named Associate Chair of the English Department in September of 2022. She has previously served as Wayne State's English Honors Coordinator and is a longtime member of the Undergraduate Studies Committee, whereas Dr. Z. Winters earned bachelor's and master's degree in African American Studies and a PhD in African Diaspora Studies from the University of California at Berkeley, where she is also a University of California Fellowship recipient and a published author. Her book, The Mulata Concubine, Terror, Intimacy, Freedom, and Desire in the Black Transatlantic, explores the geographies, genealogies, and concepts of race and gender in the African diaspora resulting from the Atlantic slave trade. And, do you want to check in here? Right there.
Okay, cool. Also, hey. And whereas, in service to her community, our shared community, Dr. Z. Winters is co-organizer of the Royal Oak Multicultural Parents Association. Since its foundation in 2017, the parent-led group has been driven by its mission of increasing diversity, equity, and inclusion practices in the city's schools. ROMPA is open to parents, guardians, and caregivers of children of color in the Royal Oak School District and seeks to cultivate an educational environment where all students can succeed. And
whereas on this special occasion, we gather with Dr. Z. Winters' friends, colleagues, and students to recognize her professional achievements and express our gratitude for the meaningful leadership she provides to the children of color and their families in her local school district.
And now, therefore, be it resolved, myself, Chair of the Oakland County Board of Commissioners, along with Commissioners Lubes, Cavell, and Yolanda Smith-Charles, and the entire Oakland County Board of Commissioners hereby proclaim special commendation to Dr. Lisa Z. Winters. And The other co-founder of ROMPA, the Royal Oak Multicultural Parents Association, Danielle Atkinson, is a dear friend of both of us who've been working in this space for a very long time. Their continued work in the community strides, to address diversity, equity, and inclusion. Those efforts led to the hiring of the first DEI coordinator in Royal Oak Schools, adding inclusive text to school libraries, presenting professional development on topics such as cultural proficiency and social justice. The Royal Oak School Districts are better because of all of their work, and I couldn't be more proud. Thank you. Thank you very much. And so I'll give you the podium.
Thank you so much. I'm kind of overwhelmed, and also I don't even know how to address you. As Chair Woodward said, my co-organizer is not here. This is not me. We are a parent-led group, and we operate on the principle of that if you attend to the needs of the most marginalized and disadvantaged children in the district, then everyone, all students in the district benefit. Our group started in 2017 following the national events or the national viral video of the children chanting build the wall chant, and then a week later a noose was found hanging in the boys' bathroom both at the middle school. And our operating principle has always been, children will be children. What matters is how do the adults respond in the building, and so that has been our focus. Yeah, I don't have a lot more to say. I just want to thank you all. I really appreciate this, and I am definitely the worker behind the scenes, so it's hard for me to be up here talking without my partner, and so it's really ironic that she is not here and she can't be here. So I just want to thank you. So.
Great. Well, thank you again. Congratulations to both of our proclamation recipients this evening. Next up, we have a presentation from Oakland Community College, and so I will call on Chancellor Pete Provenzano to come to the podium. We are incredibly fortunate. Our established long-term partnership with OCC, my family has benefited from that partnership. So many individuals got opportunities because of the largest community college here in Michigan. I would argue the greatest community college in all of Michigan. And hey, Pete, I'll let you introduce the team that's here, and particularly our chair of your board, Pamela Jackson, from the great township of Commerce.
Well, I think,
But I'll hand the presentation to you. I think you have a slideshow, but this is an opportunity to give an update about some of the amazing things that are happening in the OCC world in Oakland County.
Thank you, Chair. Can you hear me okay?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It's always a pleasure. We look forward to presenting to the Board of Commissioners every year to really tell you about the amazing things that are happening at OCC. And I was thinking a little bit about our presentation this year. With so much that is changing over the last several years, it just feels like things are changing faster and faster than they ever have, don't you think? I thought what I would do is share with you our plan for the future that we unveiled this past fall and answer any questions that you may have. So before we talk about the future, I always like to just spend a little bit of time on the past. First, OCC has actually been in existence almost 60 years. In 2025, we will be celebrating our 60th anniversary. I like to say our 60th birthday. And something we're really proud of, over 1 million students have taken classes since 1965 at OCC. And I just think that is just an awesome statistic. And we've come a long way since 1965. I don't know about you, but I actually remember registration at OCC used to look like this before there were computers. It was absolutely crazy. I know as a student, It was challenging to pick your classes and hope that they had them that they were available by the time you got up to the desk. But what I can't imagine now that I work at a college is all of the background things that must have happened without computers. In fact, some of our buildings, our older buildings, still have these massive closets where they would store all of these files and all of the student files. But now all of that is all on computer, thank goodness. And point is, we've evolved. As technology evolved, so did we. And so, as I mentioned, the landscape for higher ed is actually changing faster than ever before. And higher education really needs to respond quickly. Otherwise, we will be left behind. And so as we get close to our 60th anniversary, we started to really ask ourselves, what does the next 60 years look like? How do we continue to deliver on our strategic objectives of access, inclusion, equity, innovation, as well as collaboration? And so what I'm really talking about is future-proofing OCC. So what does that mean? What do I mean by future-proofing? Well, the definition of future-proofing is to design or change something so that it'll continue to be useful or successful in the future if the situation changes. And I'm really proud of the college and the work that we've done on this plan. I really think that we're ahead of the curve. I think you're going to see other higher ed institutions looking at the same types of things. In fact, I have presidents of other universities and community colleges that are calling me saying, so tell me a little bit about this plan that you've put in place, because they're really feeling the same pressures as we are. And so what are those current forces that higher ed is dealing with? Well, enrollment. Enrollment is declining. I think that's something that you probably are well aware of. You read about it in the newspapers, you see it on TV, and it's a phenomenon. It's a national trend as well as a local trend. It affects all of higher ed, including four-year universities as well as community colleges. And while OCC has fared pretty well, when you take a look at our colleagues from around the state, the reality is we have half the number of students and half the amount of credits that we had in 2011, which is when we had our peak enrollment. Half the number of students. And so, people ask, Pete, why is that? Well, there's a lot of reasons. One, populations are declining. There are fewer high school graduates at K-12, and you hear our K-12 friends talking about the same thing. But right now, we also have a very strong labor market, which is a disincentive. In a way, it's good, but in a way, it's bad because it's a disincentive to go to school. I remember being 18, 19 years old, your thinking is short term. And so students are looking at the value proposition of higher ed. They're looking at the cost, they're looking at the work. And when they look at and they do the math, they say, well, why would I spend that money? Why would I spend that time to earn $25 an hour after I earn a degree when I can go to Starbucks and make $20 an hour, right? It's only a $5 an hour difference. But this is short-term thinking. We all know that, right? When you look at a career, you are more recession-proof, you are more employable, you have a greater earnings potential with a degree or skill. And so we're trying to get the word out to those students. But the reality is that's what we're dealing with. That's what they're thinking. To magnify the issue, while there are fewer students that are choosing higher education, those that are choosing higher ed are taking their classes online. Here's an interesting statistic. Just several years ago at OCC, 5% of our classes were online. Now over 50% of our classes are online. Students love it. They love the flexibility. They're also using our services online. And sometimes they're doing better. And what do I mean by that? Our students are largely, over 80% of our students are working full-time, so they love the flexibility of complementing an online class with an in-person class. And it allows them to take more classes because of it, which is good because we know the more classes they take, the quicker they complete, and the quicker they complete, the more likely they are to graduate. And so I don't see this going away anytime soon. In fact, I'm seeing studies and predictions saying that we should really start preparing for 75% of our classes online. But the key is we have to provide both in-person as well as online classes. And so this is creating a tremendous amount of disruption throughout all of higher ed, especially at OCC. And so our conundrum is this. With fewer students and 50% of them being online, we have the largest footprint of any community college in the state of Michigan. We have 2.2 million square feet of building space, not acreage, building space. And so think about that. It's hard to wrap your head around, so I always like to use this as an example. Think of a 2,000 square foot home, the maintenance on that home, the cost of maintaining the home, the work of maintaining that 2,000 square foot home. We have 1,000 of them that we maintain across all 5 of our campuses. And with 50% of our students online, a lot of those buildings are empty now. And they're eerie. It's not a fun place to be. And they're expensive to run. And so what we really need to do when you think about the next 60 years, we need to shift the money that we're spending on those empty buildings, and we need to shift them to physical facilities that are innovative. We need to shift that money to student success initiatives. And speaking of student success, our graduation rate is 13%. Our completion rate is 13%. That's unsustainable. We have plans in place to double our graduation rate within the next few years. Here's the thing, our new student enrollment is actually up. Despite there being fewer high school students, we are doing an awesome job bringing new students into the college. They're successful in their classes, yet our enrollment is declining because they are not completing. Life is getting in the way. They're working full time. Other things are getting in the way. And so we are focusing on ways that we can help them complete and succeed, because it's absolutely critical to the vibrancy of the county for us to do so. So in the future, increasing the graduation rate in a way that closes the equity gap is our enrollment strategy of the future. And that's how we get to Oakland 80 by 30. And so I've talked a lot about all of the headwinds that are facing us and future-proofing OCC. So how do we do that? Well, we've got a plan. And I thought I would just kind of walk through, not all the details of the plan with you this evening. All of that is on our website with frequently asked questions, but I wanted to give you a sense of what we have in mind. Over the next several years, we will be focusing on improving the student experience. We're going to work very hard on increasing student success. We're going to continue to be responsive to our community, as well as improve our financial operations to maintain fiscal sustainability, which is so important and what we are known for at OCC. And as I said, I won't go through all of the details here, but I want to talk a little bit about the student experience to give you an idea of what we mean. We plan on improving the student experience by making services more convenient, positive, have consistent high quality amongst all of our campuses. But the thing is that we need to very early on help students find their passion and find a pathway to prosperity. And then have our counselors and have the entire college walk with those students every step of the way to help them through to completion. One of the things that we need to do on our campuses, I mentioned, with them being vacant, we need to increase the vibrancy of our campuses by reducing their footprint. And it's really all about consolidation, right? Taking our student services, finding ways to create hubs in our libraries where everything is centrally located and easy for our students to create more activity. And as I mentioned, throughout all of our facilities, bring people together in fewer spaces to create that vibrancy. And so one of the ways that we're going to do that, we made a big announcement in the fall that we are going to be consolidating our health sciences programs. Right now, they're located at Southfield as well as Highland Lakes. We're going to be consolidating those to one state-of-the-art, newly renovated location at our Orchard Ridge, Farmington Hills campus, and we anticipate that that'll be done fall of 2025. But when we do that, we are going to be leaving a pretty large vacancy at our Highland Lakes campus. There really will be very, very few students left, and so we had to make a very difficult decision to close that campus once we make that move and sell our Highland Lakes campus. We don't anticipate that that's going to happen until 2025, once all of the construction is done, but we felt it necessary to come out really early on, almost 3 years in advance, for a few reasons. One, we wanted to give our employees enough notice to find something within the community college, our college, and to prepare and to accommodate their families, because we're messing with, this is changing people's lives. But we also wanted to give Waterford Township and the community plenty of notice so that we can work with them. In fact, we're talking to Gary Wall in his office about how can we work together and create, continue to ensure that this property gives back in the way that it always has over the last 60 plus years. Actually, before OCC had this property, you may not know this, it was a tuberculosis hospital there. And Christine, you remember? And it was a tuberculosis hospital there. And eventually, as times changed, that was no longer needed. OCC took it over, and now as education and the way students are consuming education has changed, it's time for us to move on. But it's really important that we leave a legacy behind and we find a way that this property continues to contribute in a positive way to the quality of life to our residents. We also made the difficult decision and announcement that we're going to be moving out of our district office in Bloomfield Hills. Again, how do we bring same number of people together in fewer spaces? And you may have heard me talk about this in the past. I really felt we lose touch being in a district office. I really like the idea of migrating to our campuses. You heard me say it earlier, we have plenty of space. And so we are in the process right now of moving out of our district office and moving into our different various campus locations, and the property is already up for sale. The other part of our plan going forward is to continue to invest in our key programs. You've heard me talk a lot about how excited we are about our brand new Culinary Institute that we're building right on Main Street in downtown Royal Oak, right at our Royal Oak campus. There's a picture of it right there at the top, that white building. Picture 3 floors, lots of glass, a restaurant all up at the top. That's not a 4th floor, that's actually an atrium. You can see the angle there. So think about lots of light coming into that building, coming into the restaurant. And so we're really very excited about that. We anticipate that that will be open fall of 2025. We also have big plans to expand our skilled trades and industrial technology building at our Auburn Hills campus. We were hoping to get this started in 2024, but it's being delayed. We're still waiting on some state appropriations. We're hoping that that comes in this year so that we can get started on that construction. But we've also announced renovating our Crest facility. As you probably know, we train the majority of Oakland County's first responders. You've heard me probably say in the past very proudly that if you call 911, chances are that the dispatcher or the paramedic or the police officer, firefighter, maybe even the nurse that responds to that emergency was trained right here at OCC and maybe even at our Crest facility. It needs a facelift, and so what we plan on doing is building an indoor tactical training facility so that we could do active shooter training and things like that that we aren't able to do right now outside, because right now our training facility is outside and it's really a kind of like an outdoor village. But we're also going to build a gun range, expand our Crest facility, and we anticipate that construction will begin on that in 2025. The county is a big partner, particularly the sheriff's office. We do a lot of training for the sheriff's office. In fact, about 33 of your most recent cadets hired by the Oakland County Sheriff's Office were trained at our last year at our police academy, and so we really appreciate the partnership with the sheriff. And so it really brings me back to the beginning. While the world is changing, the core of what we do remains the same. It's how we do it that is changing. And so we're going to continue to be focused on student success and continue shifting to be a student-ready college. And I'd like to conclude by saying, if you liked the first 60 years, what do you see the next 60 years with this plan? And so none of this would be possible without the support of our amazing board. In fact, as Chair Woodward mentioned, our board chair, Pam Jackson, is here joining us. They represent the community. Community is very important to them, and she wanted to make sure that she was representing the board tonight. So Pam, thank you for being here. And I'd like to conclude by thanking all of you for the amazing work that you do countywide, as well as all of the work that you are doing in your communities. It really makes a difference, and sometimes I think it goes unappreciated, the work that happens at the local level. We spend a lot of time on work that's happening at the national level, but this is really where we really directly impact the lives of so many. And so thank you very much for the opportunity to share with you our plan. There are a lot of amazing things that are happening at OCC, and appreciate to give you that update and appreciate your partnership.
Great. Well, thank you, Chancellor. Yep. I think some exciting news on the horizon. You want to recognize the rest of your team? I mean, and Eunice, I know many of us know because of our government affairs stuff. And I mean, it's usually we call Eunice and figure out new partnerships. But for those who might not know, we've got some new members on the board here.
Yep. We have two. We have a brand new Vice Chancellor of External Affairs, Christina Ayar, and this is actually she's into her second week. And I can tell you that we've proudly stole her from Macomb Community College, so we've got another excellent Macomb County person coming. So we're really blessed to have her, as well as I mentioned, Pam Jackson's here as our board chair, and Eunice Jeffries, who I think most of you probably all know, who is our Director of Government Community Relations. Appreciate them spending their time this evening and their support of OCC.
Right. Great. Absolutely.
And I'd be more than happy to answer any
We got time
questions
for
if
a
you
couple questions. If anyone has some questions for the Chancellor, we'll start with Commissioner Powell and then Commissioner Gingell.
You may have referenced this, but what are some of the plans for the real estate for the other buildings? Do y'all have any idea of what you're planning to do? Or are you just looking for buyers or investors to try to pick them up?
So right now, we have made the announcement that our district office is up for sale, and so we have people coming through on a weekly basis, taking a look at that, developers, others. In 2025, we anticipate that we'll be moving out of Highland Lakes, and so that will be going up for sale. It's not up for sale yet because we want to spend some time talking to Waterford Township and the community and see if we can work together, as I mentioned earlier, on what may go in there. And then we do have some vacant land I didn't mention at our Southfield campus that we are not using, and that's been up for sale for about a year or so. Did you reference Auburn Hills? Auburn Hills, we have a lot of programming in Auburn Hills. No plans on making any changes there from a land perspective.
Yeah, I just seen a reduction in cars though, because I drive by there all the time, and I was like, oh, Lord, because it's a big campus. I know Auburn Hills campus is really big, so.
Yeah. So it really kind of goes back to my point. We still have a lot of students, just 50% of them aren't coming to the campus.
Right, it makes sense from the presentation,
Yeah.
but yeah, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, great observation.
Commissioner Gingell, followed by Miller, then Wiper.
Thank you. Thanks, or Chancellor, I should say, I guess.
Pete's good.
Appreciate you coming out and just want to commend you for the forward-looking vision to make sure that you don't become obsolete. A lot of companies and organizations don't do that, and ultimately they become dinosaurs. So just commend you and your team. It's very good. Your timing is also very good because we're anticipating introducing a resolution tonight to try to make progress relative to a new training center for the sheriff around active shooters and all the things that are necessary today. Our facilities are not adequate for the needs of today, and we need to be wise as well. Maybe there's an opportunity to have a public partnership and advance what you're trying to do faster through joint funding. Why build one through your independent efforts and our independent efforts? Perhaps we do it together, save money, do it faster, get it done, and utilize it in a way that maximizes capacity. So let's put that one put a pin in it, but let's not let it sit too long. Let's make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to have that conversation to look at ways that we can coordinate our efforts and not duplicate efforts. So I think there's ways to do that.
Thank you. Commissioner Miller?
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Chancellor. I'd never like to see a school close. I was on the Farmington Hills Parks and Rec Commission when they'd make the decision to close Harrison, but it turned into a nice community center. So there's potential for the other location that you're closing, but I do appreciate, because I drive through there often, it's right, literally probably a minute and 5 seconds from my house, the Farmington Hills location, and all the cars were there, and now they're gone, and I appreciate that back, because it's a nice location. I like to see it lively again. It is actually growing. You see more people there, more interaction, so it's really nice.
Yeah, and that's the plan. We have beautiful properties, beautiful campuses, And we just want to keep them vibrant by
Yeah.
bringing more people together.
Well, it's a lot nicer when I jog through there to see more people instead of nothing, right? 'Cause
Yes.
during COVID, it was like, what is going on with this place,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
But I appreciate that. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Commissioner Weipert. Oh, you did? Oh, I'm sorry. Any other Commissioner Jackson?
Thank you, Chancellor. I just wanted to, I'm confused about something because over the past several years, four-year college, I've been hearing that four-year college registrations have gone down and community colleges have gone up because of the affordability of community colleges versus the traditional four-year colleges. Can you speak to that? Is that just because you're losing students as well? Is that because there are not as many young people and you really need to focus more on the adult learner or retraining folks? Like the old dinosaur, you use the word dinosaur, somebody used the word dinosaur, or helping the dinosaurs or technosaurs become computer literate and things like that. I just what do you see as far as trends?
So I would say that actually higher ed, so both community colleges and universities, have seen declines in enrollment over the years. But I'm optimistic. I believe that there is an opportunity for growth. And I really hesitate to even say growth. To me, it's about Oakland 80 by 30. How do we train more people? How do we help the community obtain more degrees, credentials, skills? And I think there's an opportunity with the adult learners. I think we have to reach deeper. I always say reach deeper into our community, reach those that do not see themselves in higher ed. They don't think it's possible for them. And so we need to do a better job of that. And we have plans right now in place to not only train more workers and adult workers, so you have the state programs such as Michigan Reconnect, where workers right now, 25 or older, I think that's going to be moving to 21 years of age and older, have free community college tuition. And so we're working really hard, our recruiters, to get the word out to the adult community as well as businesses. Many businesses can help us spread the word to their own employees about this amazing opportunity to have free education. But there's also opportunities to have free education when you are younger than 25 years old, right? So there are Pell Grants, and there's so many scholarships available. But there's also dual enrollment. I really think that there's an opportunity to work with our K-12 partners to have students in high school take community college classes. And I think it's backwards the way we do it now, where you graduate from high school and then we try to convince you that you should go to college. I think we have you take college classes while you're in high school so that you see that you can do this, you see that you can be successful, and you're already a student, right? We're already working with you. What I've always said is when you graduate from high school, you should have to opt out of going to OCC. It should be automatic. And people ask me, well, what does that mean? It really should be like when you go from middle school to high school at a public district, right? You can go to a private high school, but you have to do a little work, right? The automatic thing is you are going to your local high school. It should just automatically happen. And so we actually received a $6 million grant from the Wilson and Balmer Foundation to help, and part of that grant is to work with the K-12 partners to create that seamless continuum that I'm talking about and expand our dual enrollment. So I'm hopeful that next year I'll be able to give you an update on that amazing work that we're doing.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Hi, it's a real pleasure to have you here. I'm a new face as well. I'm a brand new county commissioner here, so I actually represent all of Auburn Hills and about 2/3 of Rochester Hills.
Yep.
In my day job, I also spend an inordinate time focused on the budgets of all of our universities and our community colleges. So we'll talk offline about more of that. I only really have one question for right now, and it's about the 6-year graduation rate. And I'm glad you have the 6-year rate rather than 2 or 4, but it is just 13%. And I'm wondering what is OCC losing students to? Is it losing them to jobs, to universities, to other things? I'll let you. Yeah.
So where we're losing students is, I always say life happens to them. So over 80% of our students are working full-time, going to school part-time. They may have kids. They may be a single mom with 3 kids working full-time. They're always one reason away, they're always one excuse away to stop going to school. And going to school is a lot, you know, studying when you have all of that. And so many of our students, and this is where I think it's a little confusing for people, many of our students are actually going to OCC for free because of all of the different programs that are available, yet they're not completing because the financial hurdle is just one hurdle. It's a big one, but it's all of the other things and that get in the way. And so the other part of that $6 million grant that I mentioned that we have will allow us to pilot some really innovative programs where we hire, I say coaches, and personal trainers, if you will. People that have a caseload that are going to just stay with those students, give them a call. Hey, I noticed you haven't graduated yet. Hey, I noticed your grades are slipping a little bit. Hey, I noticed you didn't make it to class. Oh, you're having trouble finding food. You're having trouble with transportation. There are these county programs that are available to you. Sometimes they just don't know that all of these resources are out there. And so they need a coach. They need somebody to encourage them along the way and help them with the problems that they face. Many of them do not have the support structure at home to help them. I always think about my own kids, right? So things happen. Both my kids, well, one graduated from college, one is in college, and things happen. And it's me and my wife getting on them saying, you're doing what? You know, you need to do this. We're guiding them. Some people don't have that, and they need that personal coach. And that's what I think community colleges need to do. We need to meet people where they are. And higher ed in the past really hasn't thought that way. It was about access and not success. And things are changing. It's all about, you know, access is important, but there are a lot of people who have access that just aren't seeing success, and we've got to change it. And so essentially life gets in the way for them, and we need to help them with all those wraparound services as we refer to them as.
Thank you.
Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions from commissioners? Well, thank you, Chancellor. I think our partnership with Oakland 80, yourself and your team, I mean, OCC is a critical piece of, getting 80% of our workforce with post-high school education. It's not the only avenue, but you play obviously a very critical role in doing that, and our navigators to work with students and people to get those skills. We look forward to continuing this partnership, and thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule and the team and the board chair to come out and be with us this evening, and we look forward to continuing to work with you.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
All right, so I think that will move us. I think we have one additional communication, so I will call on the clerk to read that communication.
Mr. Chair, dated February 16th, 2023, Dear Chairman Woodward, pursuant to Oakland County Board of Commissioners Miscellaneous Resolution Number 14231, which authorizes the Treasurer of the Equalization Division, Economic Development, and Corporation Council to designate an alternate to the Tax Increment Financing District Review Policy Ad Hoc Review Committee. I am ready to inform you that Terry Schultz, Chief of Equalization, will serve in this alternate capacity. I believe Mr. Schultz will be an invaluable asset to the committee. I will serve as the representative from the Equalization Division on the TIF committee. Please contact me if you have any questions. Sincerely, Michael R. Lohmeyer, Oakland County Equalization Officer.
Excellent. Can we get a motion to receive the communication, the presentation from OCC, as well as the appointment to the Tax Increment Finance District? Moved by Commissioner Long, seconded by Commissioner Gingell. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor of receiving the communication, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Let the record reflect that the communications have been received unanimously. This will move us now to public comment. This is the first public comment of tonight's meeting. If there's anyone here from the public that would like to address the board on items on the agenda, I don't think anyone signed up, and I don't see any hands, so I will declare the first public comment closed. I'll move us to reports of standing committees, and first up is the consent agenda. And I'll move, if we can move by Commissioner Loop, seconded by Commissioner Joliet. to move the consent agenda. Any discussion on any of the items that went through the standing committees last week? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, will you please prompt the vote to vote on approving the consent agenda? Commissioner Miller votes yes. Good.
Mr. Chair, there are 16 yeas, 0 nays.
Sufficient number voted in the affirmative. The consent agenda is adopted. This will move us to the regular agenda. I believe there's just one item, and I will recognize the Chair of the Legislative Affairs and Government Operations Committee, the Honorable Gary McGilvery.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have one item on the regular agenda today, which is titled the Board of Commissioners 2023-2024 Rules of Procedure and Guidelines of the Oakland County Board of Commissioners. Mr. Chair, on behalf of the Legislative Affairs and Government Committee, I move to recommend the adoption of these rules.
Thank you very much. A move by Commissioner McGilvery, seconded by Commissioner Lubes. Any discussion? Commissioner Spiz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make an amendment
Okay.
referencing Section 3A.
All right. So Commissioner Spiz, it's in our, if you have to need to refresh, if you haven't done it yet, it's Spiz Amendment Number 1, moved by Commissioner Spiz, seconded by Commissioner Hoffman. Commissioner Spiz,
Yes,
on your
thank you.
amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just looking to strike the second sentence of 3A, which was the board vice chair shall also be ex officio voting member of all standing and ad hoc committees of the board. I feel it is either redundant or overreach by having both you and the vice chair being able to sit on committees and vote at the same time.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Gingell.
I just had a question on the sentence that's at hand. It's under Section 3A, which is a section that's talking about in the absence of the board chair. And it says, in the absence of the board chair, the board vice chair shall preside and be vested with all powers. The board vice chair shall also be an ex officio voting member of all standing committees. I'm assuming that that sentence only applies in the absence of the chair, which is why it's in subsection 3A. It doesn't mean that the board chair and the board vice chair both can be ex officio voting members at any given time, so that both could show up at a committee and both could vote. This is saying, as I understand it, only in the absence of the chair. Am I reading that correctly?
I think the amendment would be that effect. The practice over the last 4 years is that the chair and the vice chair can serve in ex officio ways of standing committees.
Even if both are present?
Yes. If there's any further discussion, I'll just speak. I'll encourage commissioners to oppose this. I mean, I think it's necessary to be able to continue the work. It has worked fine over the last 4 years, and I think it's necessary to ensure the business can get to the board floor. Ultimately, the full Board of Commissioner votes on things, and so I will be voting no on this amendment. Any further discussion? Commissioner Hoffman.
I guess my question is, what's the point? You already have the majority on every committee, and a majority of the board, supermajority, actually. Why would you add a couple more members that can vote?
Well, I mean, to address your question, Commissioner, that actually is not the case. The ratio of the Republican caucus is larger on the committees than it is on the full board. Yeah.
I still don't understand the point. I mean, when we had the majority, we didn't do that, where we made sure that everything we wanted done got passed because we wanted only. You have the majority, now you want to control.
I think we might disagree about how things were set up when the Republicans were in majority. I would argue differently, but this has been a practice that has actually been in place the last 4 years, and it's worked fine. Any further discussion? Commissioner Cavell.
I mean, ultimately, we're all a team where we have to get to 10 votes, or the majority. So this feels I mean, to what you said, what's the point? I kind of feel the same way to this amendment. We just got to figure out how to get majority votes to work together for the county. So.
Commissioner Long.
I just wanted to tell some of the newer commissioners here that when it was 10 Democrats to 11 Republicans, we just had the chairperson as the, not the vice chair also, just for history. You know, so that's why I would support the chairperson only, but I do not support the vice chair also. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, Mr. Clerk, please prompt the vote. This is on the amendment. This is the vote on the amendment.
Mr. Chair, there are 6 yeas, 10 nays.
A insufficient number voting in the affirmative, the amendment fails. That brings us back to the main motion. Is there any further discussion? See none. Mr. Clerk, please prompt the vote on the motion.
Mr. Chair, there are 10 yeas, 6 nays.
A sufficient number voting in the affirmative, the resolution is adopted. Commissioner McGilvery.
That's all I have, sir.
Commissioner Gingell.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to make the point that I do not believe that the wording that's contained in the board rules as it stands provides for the vice chair to be an ex officio voting member if the chair is present, because it is contained in the section that is talking about the absence of the board chair. So it's my perspective.
Okay, thank you. We can wordsmith it later with another resolution in the future. You'll have to bring the rules back. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Seeing no further business, I mean, the business of the LIGO is complete. And that will move us to new and miscellaneous business, and I believe that there are a few resolutions for introduction. So I will call on Commissioner Spiz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On behalf of Commissioner Gershenson, Commissioner Cavell, and myself, I am introducing a resolution appropriating American Rescue Plan local fiscal recovery funds for the Oakland County Co-Responder to Community Grant Program, and I'm referring to public health and safety.
Okay, probably should be referring to public health and safety and finance,
And
given
finance,
the threshold. Yep, referred without objection.
All right, I have a second one. Not that one, this one. I am introducing a resolution appropriating American Rescue Plan Act local fiscal recovery funds for Oakland Together Disability Grant Program, and I'm referring that to public health and safety and finance.
Referred without objection. Commissioner Gingell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to introduce a resolution appropriating American Rescue Plan Act local fiscal recovery funds for Oakland County Sheriff's Office new training and emergency operations center, something that's desperately needed, and I'll refer to public health and safety and finance.
Referred without objection. Any other new or miscellaneous business? Seeing none, we'll move to announcements. Is there any announcements for the body? Yep, Commissioner Markham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to call out our staff for the great job they did yesterday running the Youth in Government program, and what a terrific program that is. We had about, 75 students would have been my guess, and it was really a fun event. Those of you who didn't make it, try next year. Commissioner Weipert, Commissioner Woodward, and I stood here and took questions, and the first question was, how do we run for office, because you all look pretty old? That was the first question. So, the answer was, come talk to us, because we'd love you to be running. So anyway, it was very fun, and thanks to the staff for all the hard work they did.
Next time I show up to Youth in Government, I'm shaving. Yes, no, I mean, again, kudos to the staff. I think it was incredible. I also want to make sure that it's on people's radar. You should have received an email regarding the State of the County address on March 14th. As it's been in practice in the past, Commissioner Spiz and myself will be inviting everyone to a pre-reception, so look out for the email of where that is. I believe a location has been secured near where the event's happening, so look for that, and we'll send out more reminders. Hope to see everyone who can be there at the State of the County on March 14th. Commissioner Miller.
Yes, since nobody brought it up, I just want to say today is the second day of Women's History Month.
Yes, it is. Yes, and I think it's a reminder also, Commissioner Powell.
Thanks, Commissioner Miller. I just want to remind all commissioners, don't forget to get your nominations in. Tomorrow is the last day. Thank you.
Yes, and like we did with the Black Excellence Awards, we will be having recognition of incredible women doing great work around this county at our board meeting at the end of this month.
Yep, and I think the email came from Sarah.
Right.
Monroe. Thank you.
Any further announcements? See none. This will bring us to our second public comment. This is the opportunity for any member to speak on any matter that was, on any topic. Please keep comments to 3 minutes. And I think we've got one person who's no stranger to us, Ms. Hatt. So if you want to come to the podium, and welcome as always. Wait, just one second.
To get it. I'm not used to public speaking, so I'll have to get a little better about, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for listening and all that good stuff. When I first came, we were into the Simca bus issue, but back before that, Penny Lube gave me kindly some information from the June 23rd meeting, where you see, I'll probably cry, the American Rescue Plan Act money for the children. I brought something for Penny tonight to share with you because it was awesome. If we could teach those kids what to do when somebody goes crazy with a gun, that's going to be the best thing we can do. And it sounds like from that article that we're doing it. Thank you all very much for giving the schools the money.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Seeing no other public comment, I'll declare public comment closed, and we will stay adjourned until our March 23rd meeting or call of the chair. Good evening, everyone. Be safe out there. We got another storm coming, so brace.